Hello, my name is Brandy Berry, and I will be giving you your pre-ACT training today. This will take approximately 3 hours and 45 minutes, so please make sure you have time to listen to the whole training. The test training date is today, November 1st, 2019. And this test will occur on November 6th, 2019, which is next Wednesday. On a serious note, because all of you cannot be in the room at the same time due to being away or sick, I have decided to do just an online one so you can watch it at your own time and on pace. However, this does need to be completed by Monday, by the end of the day, and I do need to have you sign off that you have completed it. Also, this will allow us to not have any bets taken place on how many questions you can ask. So without further ado, we will continue with the test training. You will not be in contact with ACT at all. If anyone needs to be, that will be me or someone at the county level. So we're going to skip that one, and we'll skip that because you do not need to know the contact information. Here are some links, as well as the administration manual is online, but I do have a copy for those who will be administering the pre-ACT next Wednesday, and I sent the email out earlier. So please make sure, I believe everyone except Mr. Cooker is impacted in some way on that test plan that I sent out earlier today. But if you would like to view the administration manual, here's a copy of that, as well as the North Carolina specific pre-ACT website. So what is the pre-ACT? It is to assess students' progress towards the academic readiness for college. It gives students an estimated ACT test score, and it helps prepare them for the ACT that they're going to be taking next year as an 11th grader. This year it is free of charge. Well, every year I think it's free of charge for all 10th grade students to take. For test planning, please know that it will take approximately 3.5 hours to complete. It is your job to carefully review the 2019-20 pre-ACT administration manual. Again, there was that online link for everyone to view. Unfortunately, it's not linked here, but I can email it to you so that way you don't have to type it all in. But another thing to note is those of you testing, which I think I already said, but you will be given a hard copy to have for testing purposes. And I will plan to get that to you by Monday. So that way you have a couple of days to review before you give the test on Wednesday. Policy and procedures, it must be uniformly administered, and you have to adhere to all state testing policies and procedures outlined in the North Carolina Test Coordinators Policies and Procedures Handbook. I will upload a copy of that to the CTEC testing folder if you would like to refresh yourself on that handbook. Students only complete the academic portion of the assessment, so there will be a few sections they don't do, like the interest inventory and the student profile. That was part of the letter that went home with them last week or the week before. So they do have the option to do that on their own outside of the testing administration. There is a chance that someone from NCDPI or ACT could come out and conduct an assessment monitoring of the pre-ACT, so just be aware that there is a chance that someone may come out to our school to monitor the assessment. North Carolina standardized testing and opting out. All students must participate in this test unless there is some type of medical circumstance. However, I am not aware of any of that. So therefore, all students will be expected to take our pre-ACT. As far as check-in and security of test materials, you really only need to focus on the ones that are bolded and underlined. TA stands for Testing Administrator, which is if you are given the test, that is you. So you will be given a manual, test booklets, 1 per student, answer folders, 1 per student, and instructions for completing the answer folder, which is 1 per student. All materials I store in locked cabinet in my locked room, and you will check it in and to you and then, or sorry, you'll check it out to you and then check it back into me. There will be a signature sheet that will be given on the day of testing for you to do that. And then you will also sign some security agreement forms to state that you will follow all procedures to keep the material secure and safe. Arrangements for staffing you can find on page 4. You are the room supervisor. I think that's the term they use. I a lot of times use testing administrator, same thing. But please review your responsibilities on page 5 and 6. Basically, you cannot be a relative or guardian, and you must attend the training, which you are doing right now. New Hanover County no longer requires proctors, so you don't really need to worry about page 6 when it comes to proctors. The suggested training session. So basically there's an outline for me on page 7. So please review page 7 and 8 for you on every single bullet, but I did not feel that it was important to go over every single one in this training. But it does discuss security of test materials, before test, test day, and after test. A few things I noted for the before test and test day is making sure that we have your room set up before test day. Please review the assessment guide, pre-ACT instructions, and the test plan so that way you know what's going on when students ask you questions. You have answers for them, but also please let your students know before test day where their location is going to be because we have some students in culinary and different classes, it's not going to be their standard class that they are in. We will have 4 different testing sessions, and 2 of them are accommodation settings, and 2 of them will be the standard settings. Explain also how to properly fill out the answer sheets with students before test day. Please let them know that there's some fill-in boxes, like where they write in their address or their name. There's also oval bubbles that they have to fill out for certain questions that their student information that they're filling out. The ovals need to be filled in as well with the corresponding boxes. On test day, please make sure you follow the rules, and I forgot to take out the and symbol. But wear comfy shoes because you will be walking around the room some. Document the times correctly and read the instructions verbatim. Just like with any testing, it's important to do all of those things. And there's also some information for after testing, like emphasizing that room supervisors must verify the count and the booklets used, which we will learn a little bit more about, as well as the answer folders. And again, there will be not only the checkout and check-in that you have to sign, but there is going to be a security agreement form that you will have to sign for this process as well. Moving on to page 8 for time provided for each student. Test 1 is English, 45 items, 30 minutes. Test 2 is math, 36 items for 40 minutes. There will be a calculator for that portion. Then they have a 10 to 15 minute break. We move on to test 3 and 4, which is test 3 is reading, 25 items, 30 minutes. Test 4, science, 30 items, 30 minutes. They must be administered in this order, so please do not allow that anything else to happen other than the correct order. As far as seating arrangements go, on page 9 and 10, there is the 3-foot rule. I will be coming in next week. The main 2 rooms being used for testing is Miss Woodcock and Miss Batchelor's room because they do have the straight rows already in their room. We're utilizing those for the 2 standard administration rooms, and so I will be coming through to make sure we can meet that 3-foot rule. Calculators, we must provide them a calculator and they do have to be cleared before and after the test. I do have some in my testing office, but I may have to borrow some from math if I don't have enough. So please just know I may be asking you for some calculators out of the math rooms, and I probably will need help on remembering how to clear out the calculators, and maybe I can get a couple students to help me with that next week. And the calculators can only be used on the math subtests. As far as the test administration guidelines, that is page 12 through 21. We are using the 1-day administration, which means they fill out the information as well as take the test on the same day. One big thing you need to know is that their information is not on a barcode, so we can't scan, so they're filling all of that out. But also their student ID number, I believe it's 15 spots, but most students, or I don't even know if any students have 15 digits in their student number. But I believe there's 15 boxes and all of them have to be filled in. So basically, you have to lead their number with zeros to fill in all 15 spots. And so I am going to provide you guys with a copy of the student numbers with the zeros in front so that way you can pass it out the day of to make it a little bit easier. As far as pre-ACT administration supplement, students are only going to complete the following sections: A, B, D, F, G, and H. So it's your job as the testing administrator to make sure that these are the only ones completed, and that helps cut down on our testing time. As far as accommodations, we are going to accommodate students who have an IEP, 504, or EL plan, and I've already work those out in the test plan on if they needed to be in separate rooms. Our 3 EL students and 1 of the 504 students will be in the standard admission room with 12 students because part of their accommodations is they need to be in a room with 12 or less students, so therefore they can be in that room since there's no more than 12. Here's some information on those accommodations, mark and book. Here are some of the other ones that ACT allows. English learner supports, those 3 students, in addition to being that room of 12, they will also be able to use an approved dictionary on their test because that is part of their EL plan. Prohibitive items for all students: electronic devices of all kinds, textbook, dictionaries, notes, other aids. Highlighters are not allowed. We can use them on final exams through the state, but we cannot use them on the pre-ACT. So if your students are used to that, please let them know they cannot use highlighters, colored pencils, or pens on this test. Food and beverages, same thing. Although we do it with final exam testing, if the school allows it, ACT does not. So we are not allowed to have any water bottles or snacks or candy on the desk at all during this test. On the day of testing, you will direct them to their seats. They will have assigned seats. Again, making sure that the calculators are the ones that we provide, that's provided or approved by pre-ACT. After students are settled, then we start handing out their answer documents and going through the manual, which again, that supplemental reading and the instructions will start on page 24 and 25 of your book. After students have completed block H, that's when you will turn to page 34 to complete the first subtest. So again, remember, students are only completing block A, B, D, F, G, and H. And after they finish that block H is when you would start to begin the test on page 34. Timing the test is very, very, very important that you write out the times correctly, making sure that you have the start time, the stop time, and the 5 minutes remaining portion, 5 minutes before the stop time, and making sure that you give the accurate breaks. And again, those required breaks would be between test 2 and test 3. They did state in my training that if for some reason you miss 5 minutes on a subtest somehow, as long as you're still in your testing window and you haven't read the script that all testing is complete, you may go back and give them those 5 minutes that they missed on that specific subtest. Hopefully we don't have any of those issues and we just record the correct start, stop, and 5 minute remaining time, as well as the break time, so therefore we don't have to go back and do any of that. But if you notice, please let me know as soon as possible so that way we can try to calculate that into their time. As far as monitoring the room, it's your job to give the full attention, using any testing aids, please make sure your students are not using any unauthorized testing aids, electronic devices, working on the wrong test or subsection. and conducting any other prohibited